It's been almost a year since Apple launched Apple Podcast subscriptions, a great way to monetize your show by selling premium content inside the Apple Podcast app. But even a year in, I wasn't seeing any deep dives into what makes a subscription successful and how to set one up for your own show. So I reached out to Stephen Robles. Stephen is a podcaster and YouTuber who's been running 2 Apple Podcast subscriptions since they first launched. He does one for his personal show and another one for premium members at Apple Insider. So Stephen is the perfect person to give you a complete rundown of what you should be thinking about if you're going to launch an Apple Podcast subscription. I hope you learn a lot. Let's go.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, my name is Stephen Robles. I run the Bearded Teacher YouTube channel, and I'm excited because Albin Brook from Buzzsprout asked me to make this video to talk all about Apple's podcast subscription service. This was actually announced just over a year ago as I'm making this video. April 2021 is during their big Spring Loaded event, and it was a big announcement because it was the first time Apple was really going into the paid side of the podcasting world. So wherever you host your podcast, you got it into the Apple Podcast directory. That's a free process. And now you can actually offer paid content. Maybe it's early access to your content, ad-free content, or bonus episodes, bonus content, where your listeners can pay for that. Now, previously, you could do this through patreon.com or Memberful, and that process is okay, but if you've ever done that to try and support a podcast creator, it can be cumbersome and difficult sometimes. They have to know what to do with that RSS feed, or at least it will take a couple taps to get that podcast content into their podcast player. But the power of Apple Podcast subscriptions, you can look at the Buzzsprout stats. Apple Podcasts is still the #1 way that people listen to podcasts in the Apple Podcasts app. And what's so powerful is now your listeners can actually subscribe to your bonus or extra content or ad-free early access right in the Apple Podcast app. Never leave the app. They can do it with 1 or 2 taps. And then it's right in those subscriptions that they can easily join or cancel. And people are more likely to use these built-in subscriptions in Apple Podcasts. This is what it looks like. This is the Apple Insider Podcast, where we offer ad-free versions of our shows and early access. And you can just hit that subscribe button right there, and then it'll confirm the purchase like it's an Apple Pay purchase. It tells you how much per month. You double-click, and boom. They're already signed up, recurring monthly or annually. You can offer them to save money. I'm going to go into all the details about setting this up. But here's the crazy thing. We actually have 10x, actually more than 10x now, subscribers that are paying for our ad-free content directly in the Apple Podcasts app rather than Patreon. Just that little bit of friction, having to go somewhere else, sign up for a Patreon account and all that, it's enough friction that a lot of people didn't sign up. But now offering it directly, we see a lot of activity there, and it's been a great regular revenue source now for the show in addition to sponsors. And the great thing is you can actually do this on top of whatever platform you're using now for memberships. So if you want to keep your Patreon going, we do that at Apple Insider, you can keep that going. Or you can just offer your bonus content here. There's actually are some benefits to Patreon over this in relation to features, and I'll get to that once we're in the setup process. Now, if you want to sign up for Apple's podcast subscription service, it is $20 a year. That's just a flat fee. And then as you have subscribers sign up to support you through Apple Podcasts, it is a 70-30 split. So if you have a $10 a month subscription, you have a supporter that's paying $10 a month, you'll get $7. Apple gets $3. So the annual cost isn't that much, but it is a 70-30 split, and that is a different fraction, you could say, than like Patreon and Memberful. Those platforms, depending on how much you pay per month, that split can change. So you'll have to look into the details of those different platforms to see if it's worth it for you. But again, it was pretty cheap, $20 a year to set it up. We found way more people sign up directly in Apple Podcasts, and so it's been definitely worth it for Apple Insider. I also do it for the show that I host at Buzzsprout, which is Movies on the Side. We offer bonus episodes every week, and I do it in Patreon, and I do it in Apple Podcasts. Again, the ease of sign up, it's a big deal for those Apple Podcast listeners. So I'm going to walk you through how to set up these paid podcast subscriptions. Now, I'm assuming you already have a podcast going with an RSS feed. You're hosting it somewhere, hopefully Buzzsprout, because it's one of the best hosting providers. But I'm going to assume you already have your podcast going, you have your RSS feed, and that your podcast is in the Apple Podcast directory. So the first thing you're going to do is go to podcastconnect.apple.com. This is where you manage your podcast in Apple Podcasts. This is where you get your stats and where you'll also see your billing information and all that. So once you log into Podcast Connect, I'll assume you have your podcast here already submitted. If not, you can click the plus button here and you can create a new show if your show's not already there. But if your show is here in Podcast Connect, your show's already in Apple Podcast, what you need to do to set up a podcast subscription is actually start a new channel. Now, channels are to group multiple podcasts that might be under the same heading, like if it was a podcast network, but you actually need to create a new channel, even if you're just offering paid Apple Podcast subscriptions for a single show. So you're going to click New Channel, and you're going to title the channel. We'll call it Test Channel, and we're going to create it. Now, once you create it, you're going to add logo and background. This is the background imagery for the channel, and add an icon for the channel. If you're only doing this for a single show, you're not going to see this kind of imagery. This is really just for multiple show channels, but you kind of have to go through the whole process anyway. You name the channel, describe the channel, put a website, and here's where you'll add your particular show. So you must have ownership of your podcast. That's why it helps to use the same Apple ID or iCloud account to create your podcast, submit them, and then create the subscription. But you add your show right here to the channel. Now I'm going to jump to a channel that I have for Movies on the Side so you can kind of see what it looks like when it's all filled out. Have the banner, icon, about the channel, and I have the one show that I intended to offer paid content on right here. Movies on the Side is the podcast. And then here is the subscription information. This is actually what someone will see when they go to sign up for the paid subscription. So I called my subscription name Bonus Episodes. The main feature here is I'm adding extra content. And here you can actually specify what benefits that people will see kind of built into the Apple text field there. So subscriber only bonus episodes is really the one benefit that I'm doing here. You can add secondary and tertiary benefits. You can choose listen ad-free, which is like without sponsors, subscriber only shows, only episodes, early access, and maybe you only have like the previous 10 episodes in the public feed, but if someone pays, you want them access to the entire back catalog of your show. Archive access is that benefit. So you choose the benefits here. One word of warning, unless you already have bonus content published in your podcast that's marked as bonus, I'll show you that in a second, Apple won't let you submit this for review until you do that specifically. So if you want to do bonus episode or bonus content as a promotion or feature, make sure you have at least one episode of bonus content already in the podcast. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Once I've put the promotions for this, you can choose the text for the banner. I put get weekly bonus episodes for $5 a month. I'm actually changing this. I'm going to make it a little cheaper, which maybe I'll take a moment right here. Make sure you make the value of this paid subscription commensurate with what they are getting. Some podcasts, especially larger shows, can charge $8, $10 a month for their bonus content or early access. If you're a smaller show like Movies on the Side, $5 a month, we got some subscribers, but not a lot. And because, this is really just kind of a for fun show, I'm actually going to be lowering it to $2.50 a month rather than $5. So it takes a couple days for that pricing to go in effect, but by the time you're watching this video, you'll be able to see it's going to be $2.50 a month. So I think I will change that right there, $2.49 a month. I'll save that change on the little banner. And then the icon here, you can add whatever artwork that you want for the bonus content to appear. That's where you put it there. You can set a monthly price and a yearly price. So it could be $5 a month, which would be $60 a year, but you can give a discount if they pay for a year up front. So it's $50 a year. They save $10 if they do that. So you can encourage your listeners and supporters to give you that full year, and then it's actually cheaper for them. You can also offer a free trial. This is a huge benefit. A lot of the other platforms like Patreon or Memberful don't have this kind of free trial built in. And so here in Apple Podcasts, you can offer 3 days free, 5 days free, a week, however long you want. You can actually schedule a free trial. And here's all the options. You can go up to 6 months or even a year free. You can set the free trial to start and end on a specific date. So if you're only running a promotion for this month, do a free trial. You can do that. But the great thing is after that free trial expires, they're automatically signed up to support the show monthly. And so let's say they did the free trial. I have a 3-day free trial going right now. They signed up for that. They listen to a couple bonus episodes. They don't have to do anything and they remain signed up and they'll be supporting the show monthly ongoing. And so that free trial feature is a big deal. We see a lot of people doing the free trials. So once you've set all that up, you actually submit it for review. Apple does review these paid subscriptions to make sure everything's good. And after a few days, you'll see it approved and it will be live. You'll get links to your channel where people can go sign up. And if you added multiple shows in that channel creation process, or you can add other shows later, you'll actually see these channel banners. You could get featured in the channels to try area when someone's listening to your shows or shows like it. And if you have multiple shows in a channel, you can tap that and you'll see it has the Apple Insider members. That's the benefit show where you get those ad-free episodes and things like that. But I also have multiple shows here. All of the Apple Insider podcasts are right here within the channel. So someone can see all the shows that I have kind of in this network and they can listen to all of those at once, follow them and all that. Again, you see the banner there, you see the benefit, and someone can subscribe right there in a single tap. Now, once your paid subscription is set up, your channel is good to go. Now you can add that bonus content or add free content. So I'm going to jump into the Movies on the Side podcast. Again, this is what the back end looks like in Podcast Connect. I'm going to go over to episodes after I click the individual show. And in the episode tab, you'll see all the episodes, both the episodes that came from my RSS feed through Buzzsprout, just my normal podcast publishing schedule. And then I also have the bonus episodes here that are separate. And you can actually see, here's a normal episode, episode 185. We reviewed the movie Coda, and you can see Apple specifies that this was the free RSS audio. Then I actually have bonus episodes here strictly for my Apple subscribers. And it's all in the same feed, which is nice. It's not like someone has two shows they have to manage. With Patreon and with Memberful, sometimes they'll have like the regular show, but if you have bonus content that you only offer through the Patreon or Memberful feed, they'll have like two shows they have to manage. In Apple Podcast subscriptions, when you offer those bonus episodes, people who don't pay for your subscription will see a preview of that episode, but they can't listen. So here's what it looks like if you're paying for Movies on the Side. You'll actually see the full movie reviews that are come through via the RSS feed and Buzzsprout. Those are right there. And then the bonus episodes that are only available to paid subscribers are right here in the same show. They don't have to go back and forth between multiple shows. It's all just right here, and then they can listen to that episode right there, all in that one podcast of Movies on the Side. They also get this banner here, lets them know that they're in that subscriber edition, they're paying for this show, and they're getting the bonus content. Now, someone who's not signed up for your subscription, they'll still see that bonus content in the list of episodes, like in the Apple Insider podcast right here. I did a bonus episode, AirPods Pro 2, What to Expect, but because I'm not actively paying for this subscription, when I go to click play, the app actually recommends, hey, you can subscribe and listen to this episode right away, but it won't play because I'm not paid. Again, which is a really nice feature. This way, your listeners who already follow your podcast will see your bonus content right there, and if they click on it because they want to listen, they'll be prompted to sign up with that monthly subscription, one tap, and they're already signed up. So easy. So I'm going to go through what it looks like to create just a bonus-only episode available just to subscribers. And if you want to add an ad-free version of the show, but you want that to coincide with the RSS feed. So let me show you. I'm going to hit the plus button right here next to all episodes. And I'm going to create an episode. This is the title of the bonus episode. So this is bonus content. I'm going to capitalize the C. This is not going live. I don't know why. I'm like that. So here's bonus content. I would do the description here, and then I could put the episode website. So in Apple Podcasts, when they click on that episode webpage, I can point them to our website. Typically, I'll just do the show's website there. Original release date. This is when you want the show to air. A lot of times I schedule my shows a couple days in advance. Let's say I want this to air on Friday, April 8th. Episode number. This is going to be important if you want an ad-free version to coincide with your public version, but because this is just bonus content, is not really connected to the main content at all, I can leave episode number blank. Then here in episode type, this is where you're going to put bonus. And you can do this before you create your channel and promotions. And again, you need at least one piece of bonus content for Apple to consider your bonus content promotion. So I'm going to put bonus there. Again, season number. I'm not doing seasons with this bonus content. And then here for audio, I'm going to click Add Subscriber Audio. I can either make this available immediately, or because I'm scheduling this out a few days, I want this to be available starting Friday, April 8th. Again, you can change. This can only be available until a certain date. Maybe you only want this bonus content available for a week and then it goes away, it expires. Or you could do it from a certain date. But I want it starting. I want this bonus episode to go live Friday, April 8th. Manage access. Anyone can listen means you don't have to pay for the show to listen to this, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm doing bonus content just for my paid supporters. And so I'm going to check this radio button, make this audio subscriber only. Now here's where early release comes in. You can do make this audio subscriber only until a certain date, meaning let's say on April 8th, it's going to be available to my paid subscribers, but then a week later on the 15th, it will be available to everyone, paid, free, or not. Then that means it will be subscriber only for that week. So that's that early access benefit. Or you can choose always, meaning anyone who wants to listen to this has to pay. Or you can do starting, maybe you want an episode out for a week only, so only in that first week can anyone listen to it publicly, and then after that, someone has to pay. Well, then I can do, starting April 15th, it's going to be paid only. So people can listen to it for free from April 8th to April 15th, but then after that, it becomes paid only subscribers can listen to it. So you can do that. I'm going to do always. This is always paid subscriber content, so audio subscriber only. I'm going to hit save. Then you upload the file for your bonus content. Apple just recently allowed MP3s to be used for subscriber content. Thank you, Apple. So good. So I'm going to choose a file. I'm going to choose the latest movies on the side bonus episode. So I have that MP3 right here. Again, you can do WAV, you could do FLAC files, but come on, let's do MP3s here. I'm going to upload that MP3 file. Now, here is one thing that Apple Podcast subscriptions differ from like Patreon and Memberful. If you're a big chapters user, I love putting chapters in my podcast so someone can navigate around the episode quickly, especially if it's a longer show. Like the Apple Insider show, I have lots of podcast chapters. I even have specific chapter art. Unfortunately, Apple Podcast subscriptions does not support chapters in the file just yet. I have chapters embedded in the MP3 file, but Apple Podcast strips those chapters out. So if you have paid supporters that are getting that paid content, like Apple Insider, our ad-free version of the show doesn't get chapters in the Apple paid subscriptions version. It's really unfortunate because, again, those are the most faithful listeners and supporters. I want them to get all the chapters that I've spent time making. Unfortunately, they can't get it there. Patreon allows those chapters to come through all the way to the podcast player. Memberful does as well. I'm hoping Apple will add those chapters very soon. Again, they just added MP3 support. I imagine chapters will come soon after, but that is a knock on the subscription service. Don't get chapters in subscriber audio. Hopefully that changes soon. So I'm going to hit save on this bonus content, and then it takes a while to process depending how long the episode is or how big the file. It could take a little while. And then after you refresh the page, you'll see this publish button become purple, and you can click publish. If you've scheduled it for the future, like I have, April 8th, it's not going to go live until April 8th. You don't have to worry about hitting publish and worrying it's going to go live right now. If you have the date set for April 8th in the subscriber audio, which you'll see down here, and April 8th is on the original release date, this is not going live until April 8th, even by hitting publish. And you need to hit publish so it does go live. So once that button turns purple, hit the publish button, and then you'll be good to go. Now, let's say you want to offer an ad-free version of the show, but you have the free version that coincides. You want it to release the same day. You want your paid subscribers to get that ad-free show the same time as your public RSS free listeners. Well, that you have to do a little finagling. You just have to be very detailed. You have to make sure you're doing it right. So this is something I do with the Apple Insider show. Let me jump over to the Apple Insider channel. And if I go over to the episodes here of Apple Insider, you'll see that most episodes, the weekly Friday episode, here was the last episode published. It actually has free RSS audio and it has subscriber audio. That means when someone's listening in the Apple Podcast app, if they are not a paid supporter, they get the free RSS audio. But if they are paid, they see the exact same episode, but they get the ad-free MP3 file. No sponsors in it. Now to do that, you click the plus button to create a new episode. Let's say I'm just going to do test episode. But I'm putting test episode here, but if you're doing this for your podcast, you have to be very precise. Use the exact title you're putting in your podcast host, whether that's Buzzsprout or someone else. Use the exact same title for the episode that you have there. You put it in here for create an episode. So you want to make sure everything has to match exactly. So I'm going to do this test episode, but again, put your title there. Now the description actually gets overwritten by what you have in the RSS feed. So you can put like the first paragraph of the show notes or maybe a couple links here. But once the RSS hits, the Apple Podcast scrapes that RSS feed, it will replace what's in this description box with what you had in the public RSS feed. So it really doesn't matter what you put here. Just in those first few seconds, like whenever you publish your new episode, that's the only thing people will see. I just put the first paragraph usually of my show notes, but it doesn't really matter. For episode website, I do the podcast website on Apple Insider. Original release date, again, you want this date to coincide with the same date as your public RSS feed or wherever you're publishing your episode. Let's say it's this Friday's episode. Actually, let me change it to Thursday. So let's say it's coming out Thursday, April 7th. This is the other very important part. Episode number needs to exactly match your RSS feed. So this way, the subscriber audio you put here in Apple Podcast dashboard matches the same information that you're putting in your podcast host in your RSS feed. So let's say this is episode 411 of the Apple Insider Podcast. You need to make sure that it's 411 in your podcast host. This has to match in order for the subscriber audio and the RSS audio to match up later. Season number, again, this has to match. We don't do season, so I leave that blank. Episode type is full. Then you add your subscriber audio like I showed you. I'm going to make this audio available on Thursday, April 7th, the same date that I put before. This is subscriber only, always. And then you'll upload your MP3 file there. And then it's the same process. I hit save, I wait for it to process, and then I hit publish. Now, if you did that all correct, where the episode title matches exactly here in Apple Podcasts and in your RSS feed, your episode number matches exactly, and the original release date all coincides. And let's say you've scheduled this to publish April 7th. It's going to go live at midnight, April 7th. And let's say you publish your free RSS and your podcast host also at midnight. When they both hit, the RSS feed gets published. This episode with the ad-free version also publishes. Apple Podcast does a pretty good job of matching them together. I don't have to do anything after the fact. I'll show you what it looks like once they match up together. This was last Friday's episode. You'll see it takes the description from the RSS feed right here. It has the episode number, all that episode number matched. It pulled the RSS audio from the host, and the subscriber audio that I uploaded directly is also here. It all became one episode, so whether it's a free listener or a paid supporter, they're getting their version of the audio, and I just have one episode there. As long as you get the title exact, episode number exactly the same, and the published date is the same, Apple does a pretty good job of matching up that information. Now, you can offer subscriber audio after the fact. So let's say, look at episode 410 here. There were no ads in this episode, so I didn't have to do a different version for paid subscribers. But you'll see Apple Podcasts pulled from my RSS feed like normal. And I still have the option to add subscriber audio after the fact. Maybe we did a Q&A, and I want a special Q&A not publicly available, but only for paid subscribers. I can add that subscriber audio here. Maybe I made the actual episode longer, so it's a whole different audio feed. You still can add subscriber audio after an episode gets published via RSS, but again, most of the time, I want it to coincide. I want my paid supporters to get the ad-free version the exact same time that listeners who don't pay get the free ad-supported version. So that's how you create episodes on your channel with paid subscriptions. And then, of course, you can go into analytics. Apple Podcasts gives you good analytics for who listens there. They're actually going to be adding more analytics as far as who follows your show as well as who listens, which is pretty cool. Now, if you want to look at how many people are subscribing to your show, it's actually not in the analytics tab, which is a little weird. You would actually go to the payments tab here in the Podcast Connect dashboard, and you'll see how much you're earning per month right now with your subscriptions, and you'll see how many units are sold, meaning how many members you have paying monthly for your show. So that's under the payments tab, not the analytics. I kind of wish they would put in the analytics like subscriber sign on and drop off, and you could see it in the analytics tab, but I imagine they'll be updating some of that pretty soon. And of course, in order to get paid for all your channel and paid subscribers, you do have to set up your banking account and all that here in the Podcast Connect's dashboard. And of course, Apple will walk you through all those steps. It's here under account, people, you have like finance and all that kind of stuff. You'll put in your bank account where the deposits will be made for all those paid subscriptions. So Apple will walk you through that process, but it is also in that account tab. One other thing that services like Patreon does that Apple Podcast doesn't do just yet is like Discord integration. So if you want to offer a benefit to your paid supporters where they get access to a private Discord channel, Patreon actually has direct access. So when someone starts paying or supporting your show in Patreon, they can log in with their Discord account and get direct access to the private Discord channel you have set up. Apple Podcast doesn't have that kind of direct integration. I don't know if they'll do that kind of thing. And it is difficult to offer those kinds of benefits because the one thing Apple Podcast does not give you at all is any information on the individual subscribers. I have no idea who pays to support me in Apple Podcasts. I don't get names, email addresses. I have no way to communicate with our paid supporters in Apple Podcasts. That's not the case with Patreon and Memberful. You have an email list of everyone who has signed up to support your show, and you can contact them if you want to. We actually do this with Movies on the Side for a while to encourage some paid signups. We did merch giveaways, where if someone supports the show with $10 or more per month, we sent them a free t-shirt like this one right here, Movies on the Side. And I have no way of contacting the paid supporters through Apple Podcasts, so I can't offer those benefits. So one of the things we had to do for the Discord, because we do offer a Discord channel for the Apple Insider Show. So because I can't contact our supporters directly in Apple Podcast, I did this crazy thing. It's worked. Like, it's actually worked so far. But I created a bonus episode in the Apple Podcast subscription, so only paid supporters can listen to the episode. And what I did was I put the information for the private Discord server. I put my username in here. And when you play this episode as a supporter, I talk to you, I get in your ear and I say, message me with this specific passphrase. It's almost like when you're growing up and you have a password to enter a treehouse. I said, private message me on Discord with these exact words, and I'll know you pay in Apple Podcasts, because the only way you would know those words if you can listen to this paid-only bonus episode. Super weird workaround, but it actually works. I had a bunch of people message me, and they gave me the secret passphrase, and I put them into the Discord private server. So again, things like that are weird. If I ever wanted to do a giveaway, like send all of our paid supporters a sticker, I can't do that with Apple Podcasts because I just don't have any information on them. Again, that's a benefit for listeners because there's a lot of privacy there. But as someone who wants to engage with my supporters, the people who actually pay for the show, there's not as many options to do that. So that's one of the downfalls. Also, chapter markers. Again, I imagine that feature is coming, but right now there's no chapters in subscriber audio. So those are two features that are lacking. I hope Apple adds those soon. But overall, the ease of sign up for people wanting to support your show, again, we have found at Apple Insider, there are a lot of people who will directly sign up in Apple Podcasts that didn't sign up in Patreon or Memberful before. Just that friction. So I recommend offer this, start doing this as a way for people to sign up and access your paid content, but makes it a lot easier. It is more work. It's another place that I have to go every week and upload that subscriber-only audio right here in the dashboard. There's not a way to automate that. So it is more work as a creator. But again, the amount of signups that we have seen because of that ease of use, I think is worth it. It's probably worth to do the Apple Podcast subscriptions. So overall, I think it's a great benefit to podcast creators. Again, I think you're going to get a lot of paid supporters this way. It's relatively inexpensive, $20 a year, and then the 70-30 cut for all your paid supporters. And I hope this video helps show you how to set up the entire process, set up your channel, your benefits, and then start uploading bonus content. Again, thanks to Buzzsprout for having me make this video. And you can subscribe to my channel, Bearded Teacher, where I have a bunch of podcast tutorials, tips, and how-tos. Plus, I do a lot of Apple and iPhone tips and all that kind of stuff too. Hope you enjoyed. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the Buzzsprout channel too. They have amazing podcast content all the time. And leave a comment below if you have any questions or if I missed something as I covered Apple Podcast subscriptions. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.